FBI Director James Comey answers questions about President Trump's wiretapping allegations and Russia's possible interference in the November election.
And it's home to celebrities and surfers, and now it's become a sanctuary city. We'll hear from people who live there.
The USC Rocket Propulsion Laboratory just launched its very own rocket into space. I'm Tom Wallace, and I'll tell you about the major milestone coming up.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
With respect to the President's tweets about alleged wiretapping directed at him by the prior administration, I have no information that supports those tweets.
FBI Director James Comey testified in front of the House Intelligence Committee, answering questions about Russia, the election, and President Trump's wiretapping claims. Good evening, I'm Kaylee Heck.
And I'm Jake Ingrassia. Annenberg Media's Madison Weil has more on how Comey responded to questions from the intelligence community. Maddie?
Thanks, Jake. It was a highly anticipated event this morning as the House Intelligence Committee held its first public hearing to address Russia's potential involvement in the U.S. presidential election.
The FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election.
The investigation will examine any possible links between Russia and President Trump.
And that includes investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts.
Although Trump made comments welcoming Russian interference last July.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
This morning he tweeted out, the Democrats made up and pushed the Russian story as an excuse for running a terrible campaign. And James Clapper and others stated that there is no evidence POTUS colluded with Russia. This story is fake news and everyone knows it.
One day it's kind of quiet.
White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer further denied any collusion between Trump and Russia.
The Obama CIA director said so. Obama's director of national intelligence said so. And we take them at their word.
The FBI director also addressed Trump's allegations that former President Obama wiretapped him.
With respect to the President's tweets about alleged wiretapping directed at him by the prior administration, I have no information that supports those tweets, and we have looked carefully inside the FBI.
Comey and NSA Director Rogers also condemned recent informational leaks as intolerable and unacceptable for citizens of the nation. Meanwhile, President Trump certainly had a lot to say today on Twitter regarding the hearing, but let's take a look at what others thought. Here we have Kamala Harris tweeting out that the Comey hearing underscores that we cannot rest until we know the whole truth and the full extent of the Trump campaign's ties to Russia. Actor and activist George Takei, you might know him from Star Trek, he said, we can't have a president who is under FBI investigation. Another user, on the other hand, pointing out that James Comey admitted that Russia didn't change any votes in swing states, and this means that Trump's win is valid. And then lastly, another report pointing out the absence of Sally Yates today. In a previous CNN report, it had been announced that she was going to be there, but today she was not. So, while not a tweet, the White House formally said in a statement today that, quote, nothing has changed following Comey's testimony. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Maddie. Supreme Court Justice nominee Neil Gorsuch started his Senate confirmation hearing today. The Colorado Circuit of Appeals judge could bring the Supreme Court back to a 5-4 conservative tilt if confirmed as Justice Scalia's successor.
I'm acutely aware of my own imperfections, but I pledge to each of you and to the American people that if I am confirmed, I will do all my powers permit to be a faithful servant of the Constitution and laws of this great nation.
Democrats say they'll give the nominee a, quote, fair hearing, while Republicans are praising Gorsuch's qualifications.
For those of us on this side, our job is not to theoretically evaluate this or that legal doctrine, or to review Judge Gorsuch's record in a vacuum. Our job is to determine whether Judge Gorsuch is a reasonable mainstream conservative, or is he not?
His grasp on the separation of powers, including judicial independence, enlivens his body of work.
On some key issues here. He never publicly shared his position on abortion, but did rule in favor of Hobby Lobby in its case to refuse contraceptive coverage due to religious beliefs. But he does have a firm stance on assisted suicide. In his 2006 book dedicated to the issue, he said, quote, "The intentional taking of human life by private persons is always wrong."
President Trump's Gallup approval rating has dropped to a record-setting 39%. It's the lowest approval rating for a newly elected president since Gallup started tracking back in 1945. Both President Obama and George W. Bush had approval ratings near 60% in the first 100 days of their presidencies. The lowest recorded presidential approval poll was 22% for Harry Truman in 1952.
Closer to home, Malibu is now a sanctuary city, meaning it will protect undocumented immigrants from deportation. I went to Malibu today and spoke with residents and undocumented workers about what this new status means for the community. Malibu taking a stand in the heated national debate over illegal immigration, declaring itself a sanctuary city. The resolution passing on a 3-2 city council vote. Council member Laura Rosenthal saying in a statement to Annenberg Media, "With the alarming policies of the Trump administration, it is important to send this message that we care about everyone." Census data from 2010 shows only about 6% of Malibu is Latino. Residents say a good chunk of the service workforce in Malibu is Latino, and at least some of those people are in the U.S. illegally. Supporters of declaring it a sanctuary city say it's a symbol of Malibu's privileged standing up for the city's vulnerable immigrant population. The Malibu Community Labor Exchange helps connect workers with Malibu residents who will hire them for day jobs, no questions asked. Director Oscar Mondragon says becoming a sanctuary city gives immigrants protection.
It's a message of thank you. That we care about you as people. That to me is a great message.
Olisimo Fernandez is an undocumented immigrant looking for work today in Malibu. He said he feels safer with the sanctuary status in place.
I don't have no legal papers. I'm not shy about it. I know I crossed the border illegally, but that's my only crime. For me to get deported, it's totally like worse than starting from zero. I'm trying to be the best of being a good citizen in a foreign country that is not yours, that is giving you everything.
Malibu Council member Jefferson Wagner opposed the sanctuary city vote. He's pushing for strictly by-the-books immigration into the country.
You can be opposed to a sanctuary city, but also hold a heart and a warm feeling toward the undocumented immigrants that are here, and hopefully that they apply for documents and get their status upgraded.
Malibu is under the jurisdiction of the LA County Sheriff's Department. LA Sheriff Jim McConnell said in November the relationship between the sheriffs and the Immigration and Customs Enforcement will remain the same.
Government officials from the U.S. and China met this weekend to discuss trade policy and North Korea.
And Scotland might be on the verge of independence. Our international anchor Claudia Buccio has more on these developing stories. Claudia?
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson just finished his 6-day visit to Asia. One of the things on his agenda, North Korea's continued testing of nuclear weapons. This is something both the U.S. and China are concerned about.
Secretary of State Tillerson to Japan, to South Korea, and now to Beijing is intended to mobilize support for American positions vis-a-vis North Korea. Wanting to appear threatening enough so as to deter an attack, but not wanting to actually provoke an attack.
Regardless of the existing cooperation between China and the U.S., the relationship is complex. Let's take a look at how the political triangle between China, the U.S., and North Korea works. The United States and China are the two largest economies in the world. The countries have policy disagreements around trade and climate change, but they have cooperated when it comes to nuclear weapons. For years, American governments have pressured China to influence North Korea. China is the biggest economic partner of North Korea and provides food and energy, but China doesn't want to press too hard against North Korea. It fears a breakdown of the government in North Korea could cause a humanitarian crisis. It does not want to deal with North Korean refugees eager for food and work. China considers North Korea to be a buffer between China and South Korea, where the U.S. has military power. In the wake of Brexit, Scotland's relationship to the UK is again being deliberated. The Scottish Parliament will discuss on an independence referendum motion on Wednesday. We spoke to an EU law professor at the University of Edinburgh about the implications of a Scottish independence.
then there will have to be negotiations with the rest of the UK government about how exactly that is going to work. At what point in time Scotland is going to be independent, what's going to happen to the assets of the UK as a whole, what's going to happen to the military. Just think about the UK's nuclear weapons are stationed in Scotland, so would they have to be moved? All of these questions need to be determined. It's very, very complex.
The Scottish population is split on the topic of independence. During the last referendum, 45% voted in favor of independence and 55% voted against. The vote is still up for negotiation and could take place in 2018 or 2019.
Thanks, Claudia. Well, another resignation at Uber. We'll tell you what led to the move and what students think about it.
And USC's Fisher Museum is welcoming a new exhibit that details the hardships some people face in coming to the U.S. A behind-the-scenes look just ahead.
And we'll talk to the students behind the successful rocket launch that got over 140,000 feet in the air, coming up.
So good to see you guys. So, what's up? Oh, we finally bought a place. Holy cow.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
Jeez, at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save.
Yeah, I have no idea where it goes.
Well, you're spending a lot on...
Is
it good?
Oh, God.
Oh, how is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
That's low, that's low. That's low.
Look, he's blushing.
Seriously.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
A group of USC students launched a rocket into space this month and plan to do it again. Annenberg Media's Eitan Wallace introduces us to USC's very own Rocket Propulsion Lab.
No, this rocket launch is not the work of NASA or SpaceX. This is the work of the USC Rocket Propulsion Laboratory, a student-run group based at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
When you join this lab, you put your heart, your soul, your blood, your sweat, your tears, everything into this lab.
Haley Caro was one of 60 students who traveled to New Mexico 2 weeks ago to launch the group's latest rocket, nicknamed Fathom 2. The launch was the USC Rocket Propulsion Lab's most successful to date, reaching an altitude of 144,000 feet. That's more than 27 miles.
This rocket has the record of reaching the highest altitude of any student-built and designed rocket out there.
But these rocket launches don't just happen with the snap of a finger. In fact, some of these rockets take months to build. This rocket, for example, the Fathom 2, took 2 months to build. But the students here say the hard work pays off.
I was in tears. I was like, oh my God, being able to go out there, successfully launch and recover the rocket, it means the world.
So what's the point of all this? The dean of the Viterbi School believes the program prepares students for a future career in the space industry.
Many of the students, after they graduate from here, are very well sought after by the industry, like SpaceX and many of the other companies in space here, which is an amazing thing.
Members of the group say their next goal is to launch another rocket this May, hoping to blast off to success once again. For Annenberg Media at USC, I'm Eitan Wallace.
Thanks, Eitan. Well, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association will endow $2 million to the USC School of Cinematic Arts to support international students.
The grant we gave to USC follows a long tradition of giving to film schools by the Hollywood Foreign Press. but at the same time, we identified a gap in their funding, which was in helping foreign students who apply to USC and cannot have the scholarship.
Dean of SCA said, "We are incredibly grateful to the Hollywood Foreign Press for this generous and impactful gift. Support like this is usually talked about but never instituted, so we are indebted to the HFPA for having the vision to actually do it." We spoke to SCA students to get their thoughts on the endowment.
I think anything that goes towards giving a stronger voice to international students or students of any kind of diverse background in cinema is important.
I think that it really shows that they're clearly valuing voices from all around the world, which I personally think that the greater diversity that's in an area, the better the art that will come of it.
A lot of parents aren't really willing to pay for the arts. And so with this new endowment to give them scholarships and grants, it really gives them that opportunity to explore something they wouldn't be able to otherwise.
The fund is the biggest endowment for strictly international students at any university in the country.
USC's on-campus museum will be displaying Montar la Bestia, which translates from Spanish to board the beast. It is the first stop on U.S. soil for the 52-piece exhibit. USC's Fisher Museum will host the multimedia exhibit curated by 3 Mexican artists. The art aims to tell the story of migrants from South and Central America who board the uncomfortable and dangerous trains in hopes of a better life in the U.S. We spoke with the director of the museum and to one of the curators to find out more about the origins of this exhibit.
It's necessary because I think at this moment of a kind of fear and even hatred, it seems, for immigrants who come here, this art show makes us understand their humanity.
Ojalá que solo migráramos por placer, pero hay gente que debe migrar por muchas otras razones. Y pienso que lo que hacemos es intentar ponerle en la vista al público la posibilidad de empatizar.
The exhibit includes a documentary, an interactive train, and audio of Spanish poetry. It'll be at USC until April 9th.
Well, we are coming out of a sunny spring break, and I hear some rain is ahead.
I hope that's not true, but let's hear more from our weather anchor, Addie Stafford.
Thank you so much, Jake and Kaylee. Yes, you are correct, Jake. There is some rain ahead this week, so make sure you get outside tonight. Let's look at those current conditions. We're looking at some partly cloudy weather, so not too bad, 65 degrees. Put on a light jacket, but pretty much overall a nice night. Now, if you didn't catch enough of those slopes over spring break, let's look at the mountains for tomorrow. Big Bear is looking at 44 degrees, so a little bit chilly, but not too bad for the snow. We're looking at 69 in Palm Springs. Now let's head to the coast. The coast is looking at 64 in Malibu and pretty much 60s throughout the rest of the area as well. Let's see if the USC area can give us some nicer weather. Glendale's looking at 70 and pretty much mid to high 60s throughout the rest of the area. Let's check out your 5-day forecast. We're looking at some rain tomorrow, excuse the graphic, but actually that's showing rain on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week as well as Saturday. And we're looking at some temperatures in the high 50s, but still pretty chilly for the week. And unfortunately, the rain, not a great start to the spring that we're having. And today is actually the first day of spring. But what does that really mean? We're going to give you a quick science lesson. The scientific name for today is actually the vernal equinox. It is the day that the sun crosses directly over the Earth's equator. So as we can see that right here. And the Earth rotates on an axis of 23.5 degrees. And usually the northern and southern hemispheres trade places receiving sunlight. But twice a year there is an equinox, like today. One for the fall and one for the spring on those days. The tilt of the Earth's axis actually isn't inclined towards or away from the sun. It's pretty much equal, so both hemispheres receive the same amount of sunlight, and night and day are equal in length. It is the northern hemisphere's first day of spring and the southern hemisphere's first day of fall, but both enjoy approximately 12 hours of sunlight and 12 hours of night. That's all I have for weather. Keep out of the rain this week. Back to you, Jake.
Thanks for the science, Addie. Well, after just 6 months on the job of Uber president of ride-sharing, Jeff Jones quit because his, quote, beliefs and approach to leadership did not align with the rest of the company. Jones' decision to step down comes in the wake of several ongoing controversies with Uber, including sexual harassment allegations and a verbal fight between CEO Travis Kalanick and a driver. As a result, some students have begun to stray from using the app. We caught up with a few of them on campus.
You can't judge a whole company off of the CEO or like one person that's involved. And I think there's also like two separate issues. The sexual assault driver thing is entirely different.
I did primarily switch from Uber to Lyft. I just haven't been that happy with how Uber has changed their pricing models and how they kind of treat their drivers.
I mean, if that's all getting fixed, the CEO just left. Obviously, they're cleaning house and they're making some changes. I think if they show that they can make those changes, then USC should stay because I think it's an awesome program.
The luck of the Trojans ran out last night in Tulsa, and they are out of March Madness.
Yeah, really close game coming down to those last minutes, and Kristen Lagos got the details.
That's definitely right, guys. It came down to the last few minutes, but last night marked the end of the USC men's basketball team's run in the NCAA tournament. But before we say goodbye, I'll be taking a look at some of this season's best moments.
And a baseball tournament that only happens once every 4 years is wrapping up tonight right here at Dodger Stadium. Sports are next.
If you store your guns properly, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
I won't have to tell so many family members. I'm sorry.
I won't hear as many scary stories.
And I won't have to tell my kids. This isn't a drill.
Please.
Please, do it for us.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always, lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
Yes, I am.
Give it to him hard! No.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why you stab me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how. Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow. I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
And welcome back to ATVN. The USC men's basketball team saw their season come to a heartbreaking end last night after an 82-78 loss to the Baylor Bears in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Though USC had been known as the come-from-behind team throughout the tournament, unlike SMU and Providence, a second-half surge from Baylor put an end to the Trojans' Sweet 16 hopes. The Bears were led by Jonathan Motley, who had 19 points and 10 rebounds, but it was point guard Manu LeConte who drove it home for Baylor, scoring 8 points in 45 seconds to put the Bears on top late in the second half. While 4 Trojans scored in double digits, it was not enough to come back and take the game. And even after the buzzer blew on that one, USC fans continued their own post-game on social media, taking to Twitter to express both heartbreak and hope for the future. This tweet from the AP's Kurt Voigt perfectly captured all USC fans with a picture of the ever-smiling Tommy Trojan in a rare, vulnerable moment, taking a minute to soak in the loss. While this tweet from Director of Scouting Martin Bahar chose to look back on the season's brighter sides, mentioning the team's record 26 wins, 13 of which were come from behind, and their back-to-back tournament appearances. And in the spirit of looking back on the season, what better way to honor the close of USC's basketball season than to dish out a few end-of-year most and least likely awards. First up is my personal favorite, the award for Team's Best Tweeter. That honor goes to junior guard Elijah Stewart, who is never afraid to speak his mind, at least online. Take a look at some of his season's best, tweeting about everything from his love life to girl advice, post-game commentary, and even a few words of wisdom he's gathered along the way throughout his 21 long years. Next up, I am honoring one player's style on the court, but not in the way you might be thinking. Benny Boatwright is known for 3 things: his height, his uncanny ability as a big man to hit threes, and his ever-changing hair.
As this season's most likely to change up his hairstyle, Benny rocked both the braids and the faux fro in the span of 3 different games. And finally is the least likely to hit a 3, heading home with big man Chimezie Metu. The sophomore forward was just 1 of 2 from beyond the arc, as compared to counterpart Benny Boatwright, who attempted more than 150 threes this season. And with the end of USC's tournament run, fans will now be looking to the roster to see if core players Metu and Boatwright will decide to stay another year or declare for the NBA. And tossing it from one court to the field, the World Baseball Classic is quickly coming to a close. Our sports correspondent Aaron Glazer is on hand at Dodger Stadium. Aaron?
Baseball's World Cup. It happens once every 4 years between 16 countries. Countries that have been playing for the last 2 weeks at stadiums all around the world, from Seoul to Tokyo and Miami, San Diego, but it all ends this week right here in Los Angeles, where the teams again tonight, Xander Bogaerts of the Boston Red Sox will lead Team Netherlands against Carlos Correa of the Houston Astros and Team Puerto Rico. The winner of tonight's game plays the winner of tomorrow night's game between the USA and Japan on Wednesday night right here at Dodger Stadium for all the marbles. Now, the WBC is a little bit different than traditional baseball because of that country-like nationalistic atmosphere. The fans are louder, they're more emotional, as you can hear some of the music behind me that's native to these countries. The fans just get a bit more into it, and the players create a very unique atmosphere. Something else that's unique about it is that players can join teams a little bit later. So for all you Dodger fans out there, pitcher Kenley Jansen is joining Team Netherlands tonight. Now, he is expected to play, so again, for you Dodger fans, make sure to catch him out there. We'll see how he does, as well as both the Netherlands and Puerto Rico in tonight's exciting semifinal. But for now, for Annenberg Media from Dodger Stadium, I'm Aaron Glazer.
Thanks so much, Aaron and Kristen. And one news organization has named its first ever female editor-in-chief.
We'll give you some numbers behind the gender gap in the newsroom.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
She doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
be nice. She's new. Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened? Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.